Welcome to part 5 of our Taiwan trip, but first, a room tour.
Good morning.
We're in,
Alishan.
yeah, and it's our hotel in the mountains, and we're just going to do a quick room tour. Okay, so this is the entryway to our quite large mountain room on the tea fields, and we're going to come in and we're going to take a right to go into our very large bathroom. You've got a nice large shower with multiple options. A couple shower heads, removables. We've got a separate urinal and regular toilet. I think it's because the urinal uses way less water. And then we've got our super low sink and mirror as per Taiwanese tradition. And we've got a beautiful view out to the rice fields, which we found out our first morning that when the workers are out there, they can see straight into the bathroom. So we've had this closed most of the time. And then we'll exit the bathroom and into our rather large bedroom. We have a queenish bed, whatever they want to call it here, and then 2 day beds basically. And then a weird swinging chair that's super uncomfortable. Another view out to the rice fields because they surround us here. And then we'll go out to our balcony. We're on the 5th floor, which is the top floor of this hotel. And we've got this incredible view out here to the rice fields of the mountains. Last night we didn't have much of a sunset, but the night before we did. Oh, and you can see off in the distance, the clouds are covering where the city would be. So it's kind of a sea of clouds. So yeah, it's a really nice room, and that's our tour. Okay, so this is a quick little bonus video about our room. Some interesting things. The hot water is shut off at 10 p.m. and starts at 6:30 a.m. So you can't take a lake shower. Yeah. The rice workers, the tea
farmers.
The tea farmers were here the first day we were here, and they haven't been since. And I think they're the same tea farmers we see in the other tea fields that we've been driving past in the mornings. Maybe, we're not sure. The birds are super loud, and so are the frogs, which is cool.
In nature.
Yeah, we're in nature. But also, early in the morning, if we walk out around 6 o'clock in the morning, like you can hear it right now, there's construction going on, but there's large explosions because they're constantly trying to work on all the hills around here and the roads to keep them from having large boulders in the middle of them.
Yeah.
So you can hear that early in the morning, just loud explosions. So yeah, it's not as peaceful and serene as you would think it would be, but it's good enough. It's really pretty here.
Yes.
What other weird things did we have in the room?
The floor. First.
We're on the 5th floor. The elevator goes to the 5th floor, but it stops on the 4th floor because the 5th floor is the 4th floor. And so we have to take the stairs. Why they don't make a 6th floor with an elevator? Don't know. It's really kind of weird. It's also a relatively new hotel. Lots of places around here. Like there's new hotels being built around here. It seems like a very up and coming touristy industry. So
it's pretty.
Yeah. I think that's the weird stuff about the room that I can think of. Yeah, that's it. Bye. This is checkout day for us. Today we're going to be driving from the mountains to the train station in Chiayi, and then taking the train all the way up to Taoyuan, and then getting dinner in Taipei. Because we had such a crazy drive on the way out, we decided to stick to Highway 18 the whole way back, no matter what Google tried to route us to. Once we dropped off our rental car, we decided we would take a taxi across Chiayi to the HSR station because it was much more convenient than trying to find the bus. Whoa!
Whoa!
I don't know where to back up to. Our morning started with the rain, and it rained on and off throughout our whole trip to Chiayi. Because we were going to stick to Highway 18 today, we knew that our trip would last less than a couple of hours. Not far down the mountain, the rain cleared, and we got these spectacular views of clouds over the lower hills. Entering and leaving this village, we saw gates that would close the road. Since this is the main road into the mountains and not the crazy windy road we took to get in, it's amazing that they still close and these villages could get cut off if there's a rock slide. Once we were out of the mountains, we were into the city of Jiayi, which by Taiwan standards is a relatively small city. However, for a Westerner, the traffic is still a little bit crazy and it was still really stressful driving the rental car to the rental lot. After an extra long cab ride, due to having to return something to a previous passenger, we got to the HSR station. We ended up eating lunch at the Mossburger because it was not Starbucks and it actually had seating available. Not long after lunch, we jumped on the train and headed up to the Zhongli HSR station in northern Taiwan. Once there, we took one of the more local lines to the airport hotel station. The great thing about the airport hotel station is the entrance was right next to the Hyatt Regency Hotel at the airport, so it was extremely convenient for us to get to our room. We were fortunate in this train that it was less empty than the way down, and we actually found a spot to put our luggage. It was a pretty relaxing trip on the way back with some pretty decent scenery. Unfortunately, it was partially rainy and gray the whole way. When we arrived in Zhongli, it was pouring down rain. On the way to our next train, we saw this umbrella stand that was selling umbrellas for like $30 US. That's pretty expensive. I don't know that I'd recommend anyone else buy one of these, but it still works to this day, so we can't complain. Once we figured out that the purple line we wanted to go to wasn't the one we were standing next to, we grabbed some tickets and headed across the terminal.
Okay, we're going to do a room tour of our Hyatt Regency at the Taipei airport. We're here for 2 nights before we fly out to Palau. So let's just do a quick room tour.
Yeah.
Okay, the first thing to know about a room tour is we're in the second building, which means I think we're not fancy enough. But we'll see. So we've got a little luggage shelf here.
Closet.
On the right, we've got a closet when we walk in the door. Another closet. Bathroom that looks pretty spacious. Got a nice big sink. A nice big shower that actually looks straight out into the room. And then a bathroom that's big enough. Okay, and then, so the shower thing we thought was interesting because when you come over here, you're in the room, you've got your nice little day bed there, you've got your nice little queen size bed, and you can see straight in to the shower. And then we were like, what the heck? Well, apparently there's a button inside that then puts the blind down, so you don't actually have to have someone staring at you in the shower, which is hilarious. And then we have a view of the airport. Ooh, exciting. And that's our room tour. Okay, check it out.
Not long after getting to our hotel, we had to leave again. We had a 7 p.m. restaurant reservation for a Michelin Star restaurant that Melody was really looking forward to. The train was at least 45 minutes plus a ton of walking to get there, so we headed out a little bit early. Eventually, after following a bunch of arrows, signs, and a couple wrong turns, we made it to the red line. That would take us to the stop we needed to have about a 15-minute walk to the restaurant. We were a little early for a reservation and spotted a fancy ice cream place. This seemed to be the fancy part of town because this was a fancy French ice cream shop. The ice cream was pretty good, if a little bit expensive, and I was really happy that we got it. The reason why I was so happy we got it was that this Michelin Star restaurant was basically all appetizers. They also didn't give us anything to eat for about 20 minutes once we got in, and the first dish was a tiny little starter course. In fact, the majority of the courses would be starters until about 5 courses in, and that still was not a very large course. The restaurant had a Latin American fusion theme, and the chef was from Argentina. Melody had reserved meals in advance, and since I'm not a big fan of alcohol, I got the non-alcoholic options and she got the wine options. The non-alcoholic options were all juices, and they all had some form of pepper in them.
For instance, I had some strawberry juice, some watermelon juice, but they added some essence of pepper to them that made them taste kind of cuminish. I'm not quite sure what the chef was thinking, but I don't know why you'd ruin perfectly fresh squeezed fruit juice like that. Also, while Melody was mostly happy with the wine choices she was provided, somewhere about 3/4 of the way through the meal, they provided her with sherry. It was so strong that I could smell it the second they opened it, and it completely overwhelmed the course that they had paired it with. This restaurant, however, was all about the experience and, I think, challenging your taste buds. There was generally at least 10 to 15 minutes in between each tiny little course, which was usually about 2 bites. There was always a walkthrough of the ingredients and where everything came from for that particular course, as well as the matching wine or fruit juice that went with that course. I would say I liked about 50% of the courses, and Melody liked about 70% of the courses. They definitely weren't all winners, and they were definitely all very small. It wasn't far into dinner before I was very thankful that we had stopped to get ice cream, because otherwise I would have been starving. So while the food was fancy, and it may not have been to my palate, but it is to others, I would say this: if you go to a restaurant, eat a 3-hour meal, and leave hungry, something went wrong, especially when you pay $500 for 2 people. Since it was right about 10 o'clock when we left the restaurant, we didn't have much time to walk across town and get to our train stop. The last trains run at about 11 p.m. in this area, so we got the second to last train heading back to Taipei main station. Once there, we grabbed the connection to the airport hotel station and arrived home around 11 p.m. When we left the restaurant, they had provided us a little goodie bag with some cookies to refrigerate and some tea. We did try the cookies the next day, and they were pretty underwhelming. That wraps up part 5 of our trip to Taiwan. In part 6, we'll do another eating adventure at a giant buffet in Taipei 101.